Again, a happy, healthy new year. One of the greatest pleasures in life is sleeping. So it becomes a little bit problematic. We wanted to delve into all the different opinions and then make a nice conclusion in the end, because it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch in the name of the Ramah, based on the Yerushalmi, that it's a scary Yerushalmi. Now the Yerushalmi is a little bit mysterious because it's not in our version, as the Aruch HaShulchan puts out. But there's the Ramah in the Shulchan Aruch, Rav Moshe Israelis in the Darkei Moshe, brings at the end of the laws of Rosh Hashana in Siman Taf Kuf Pei Gimel that one should not sleep on Rosh Hashana. Why? Because the judge will not appreciate it if when you're in court and you're trying to advocate for yourself, right? Right? The shofar and our prayers are kind of like our defense attorney, right? And then you're snoozing off. It shows that you're taking the whole thing as a joke, right? So it says, God forbid, a person that sleeps, his Mazal will also sleep. The Yerushalmi says this in Rosh Hashana about somebody that sleeps. So, therefore, a lot of people have a custom that Rosh Hashanah they don't sleep, even though this year it falls on Shabbat, and Shabbat, a lot of times people do like taking a nap, but we wanted to see the it comes out a fascinating thing, the way the Arizal understands this halacha, and there's a lot of different opinions in it that will make a fundamental difference how you want to schedule your day. Now, the Zohar, this is not only found in the Yerushalmi, but this is also a Zohar. The Zohar goes to explain the Haftarah that we read on Kippur, Navi, right? So the Zohar, I'll read it for you. It's in Zohar, volume 2, Daf Kuf Pei Tet. Vayikarev elav Rav HaChovel, you know that when Yonah was, basically the ship was drowning, and what was Yonah doing? Sleeping. He went to the bottom floor, the rock bottom floor of the thing. So the captain comes in to him and says, wake up, we're about to get drowned. We're getting bad, we're about to have to jump overboard. The storm is so bad. So the Zohar says this is synonymous with somebody that sleeps on Yom Kippur. Or Rosh Hashanah. Both, it's actually, because our
Day of Judgment.
The Day of Judgment, which is both Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So the captain is kind of like, who's the captain of the world? Hashem. The Zohar, that's how Darshan is. Hashem says, why are you sleeping? Wake up. And we just explained eloquently how, perfectly auspicious these days are to be on our best behavior. So he says the same thing. The same way that the captain of that ship came to Yonah and said, what's going on? Same thing. Your whole year is on the line. What's going to happen to you? Your whole destiny of how much money you're going to make, and from A to Z, what's going to happen to you is on the line on the Day of Judgment of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So why sleep? So the Zohar also echoes the thing of the Yerushalmi. So what kind of fundamentally changes this whole idea is the Arizal. The Arizal says that in the Shara Kavanot, the Ari had a different understanding of this custom of not to sleep, and the whole what's going on in up there. The Arizal says that after midday, you are allowed to go to sleep. And Maharchu, his star student that wrote down everything we have from the Arizal, says that I remember that I would see my own master, the Arizal, sleep after Chatzot, midday. It's like around 1 o'clock, whatever. You have to look at your local time. And this is also brought down by none other than the Kaf HaChaim and the Ben Ish Chai, that because we Sephardim, a lot of the different customs that we have is based on the Arizal. So the issue that comes out over here is that we have to understand that Rav Ovadia actually, his son, the YALKUT Yosef, Rav Yitzhak Yosef, had his father's copy of the Ben Ish Chai. So he saw that his father had wrote down as a footnote in his own book that this is against what one of the great Gedolim, Nezirot Shimshon, one of the authors, says, that according to the Arizal, since you're halachically allowed to blow the shofar the whole day, sometimes Chabad or other great tzaddikim, they do a mitzvah, they go to hospitals, and right? A lot of times people will make a mistake to think that, if chas v'chalila somebody wasn't feeling good in the morning, so they lost the chance of listening to the shofar. That's absolutely wrong. As long as, just like lulav and etrog, you have the whole day to shake them. As long as it hasn't sunset yet, you can listen to the shofar. I mean, by the way, parenthetically, women have accepted on themselves to listen to the shofar, but since it's a mitzvah that has to do with time, so the same way technically they're absolved from it. But since the mitzvah is so powerful, it wakes you up, the Rambam says, and it wakes up your soul, and it, like we said, it wakes up you have to do introspection. What are my priorities? Why am I living, right? Am I just... So since it does that, the women have also done it. But Rav Ovadia writes that the Nezirot Shimshon is misunderstanding the Arizal. The Arizal himself says that Nezirot Shimshon says that even according to the Arizal, you shouldn't sleep at all, even in the afternoon. Which Rav Ovadia writes in his footnotes, writes that his own students saw him sleeping. So the Nezirot. So there's also another problem. Some of the great, one of the greatest poskim before the Mishnah Berurah came back along, the posek that was one of the most comprehensive of all on Shulchan Aruch Achronim, later commentaries on Shulchan Aruch that clarified the Shulchan Aruch like nobody else has done, is the Aruch HaShulchan. And he actually has on all the 4 volumes of the Shulchan Aruch. He makes another argument that he says he's searched through the entire Yerushalmi, he doesn't find the Yerushalmi. So he also argues that for sure, since the Yerushalmi is not to be found in our text, versions of it, and the Arizal says you're allowed to sleep after you listen to the shofar after Chatzot midday. So Rav Yitzhak Yosef just says that not necessarily we have to question whether this Yerushalmi exists or not, because there was a great Rishonim that I never heard of. But you got to leave it to the Rav Ovadia Yosef and his sons. They find the most unknown. And there was one of the Rishonim called Rabbi Yoshua Eben Shaib. He was a student of the Rashba and a contemporary of the Ritva. He quotes the Yerushalmi. And in the end of the day, one of the greatest Hasidic poskim of our last generation, the Rabbi Menashe Klein, the Ungvara Rebbe, the Mishnah Halachos, says, listen, at the end of the day, the Gra and the Achronim and the Ramah quote the Yerushalmi, so they must have seen it. So it's, even though it's not to be found now.
The question, they couldn't find it in the
Yerushalmi? it's not in our versions.
Wow.
So that's part A of this year. Part A of this year is that it seems to be a machlokas between the Talmudic sources and the Kabbalistic sources. So let's try to. I want to, because sometimes when certain people listen to my shir, when you bring too many opinions, they get confused. So I want to be very clear here. The Talmudic Yerushalmi source, according to that, you shouldn't sleep at all on Rosh Hashana, right? It happens to be, and the Zohar also. So it probably, the way the Arizal understands it is that the Zohar also echoes that voice that you shouldn't sleep. But the Arizal understands that we're only really getting judged, court is only in session, which is going to be the next part of this year. When is court in session? Arizal holds that already after midday, Hashem is not on the,
On the bench?
on the bench, so to speak. You know, it's not the time that Hashem is really. Because anyways, any normal minyan, by the time it's chatzot, they've already davened shacharit and blown the shofar, right? So now the part B of the shir is, when does the judgment start? Because you have to understand, it's a catch-22, right? We want to be awake when Hashem is judging us. So therefore, the second part of the shir is, and we're going to bring a fascinating thing from the current Ravid, chief rabbi of Yerushalayim, of the Ede Charedis, which I had the honor of meeting. Such a sweet man. Now the question is like this. The same Arizal says, Arizal is not just coming to make your life easier and say, oh, you're allowed to sleep in the afternoon. The bottom line is though, that the custom of all Sephardic shuls that I've seen, the serious ones, like the ones that have the members are very God-fearing and kollel-like and Talmidei Chachamim, on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the high holidays, they all pray at nets. Why? Because they say that Hashem is starting to judge us already from Alot HaShachar, and it's the first day of year, and the first halacha in Shulchan Aruch is that one should get up like a lion. So what's the appropriate way to structure your day? So one of the great poskim, a friend of Rav Ovadia and Rav Moshe Feinstein, one of the great poskim of Israel, kind of like the equivalent of Rav Moshe Feinstein for the Israeli public, was Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, the Rosh Hashiva of Kol Torah. So he says, his opinion is very interestingly that you don't have to get up at dawn on the high holidays, not like the Minhag of us Faradim, because he says, because technically, according to Yerushalmi, the whole daytime Hashem is judging you, right? So when does the day start? At nets. So one should be up at nets. So he says that, and I want to quote him verbatim, שלא אמרו בירושלמי אלא מי שנראה שאינו מתחשב בתוך קדושת היום שהוא נראה, וזהו מי שהולך לישון ביום, ללא כל סיבה מוסתרת, אבל כל זמן שלא יתערער. He says the Yerushalmi is there saying, like we explained in our Musar Shir, it's such an awesome day. Hashem's Shekhinah is willing to come fill up your whole soul and purify you and elevate you, and you're just going to sleep. So it's like a disappointment, right? The angels and Hashem get disappointed at this person, your guardian angels, right? Then it's like no good. You're not going to have a good Mazal. But he says, first of all, if you were learning the night before, the night of Rosh Hashanah, which the greatest powerful thing is Talmud, because in the day we're trying to understand the custom of the yeshivas is not to wake up at dawn on Rosh Hashanah and the high holidays, right? So Rav Shlomo Zalman comes to defend the minhag of the yeshivas, right? Why don't they? So he says, first of all, you're not disrespecting the day if you don't get up at nights, at dawn, because because he says, if the whole 99% of the year you have a certain routine and now you change it and now you're not going to be able to daven with kavana on Rosh Hashanah, right? And I want to tell you guys, if one thing you learn from me is a lot of times there's something called midat chasidut, but there's something called minat Torah. So a lot of times we can't, if we wanted to go above and beyond halacha in order to do something Kabbalistic or chasidut, but then we destroy the whole main thing. So Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach saying, listen, somebody that is in yeshiva, for their routine is they stay up late and learn, right? So now you want to tell me that he says he holds that the Yerushalmi is not talking about such a person. He says if you went to sleep on your regular schedule and you didn't waste time on Rosh Hashanah according to your culture and your setting, you understand? So he holds that it's not a problem because you need at least 8 hours of sleep, and you need the tefillah takes a very long time, even on Rosh Hashanah. It's the longest musaf of the year. So, and you have to stand by shofar. So he says, Rav Shlomo Zalman's opinion is that as long as you are being productive according to your yearly schedule, right, daily schedule, it's not going to come and be like this Yerushalmi is not going to be a black mark, and Chas v'Shalom is like the Yerushalmi says somebody that sleeps there, Mazal is also going to be asleep. He says this doesn't affect the yeshiva because he brings a proof. Rabbi Yitzhak Yosef brings a proof to this from a very interesting. Right, exactly. He says you're being serious because this is the schedule of your yeshiva, and if you kind of try to shift it, you may become drained during the actual tefillah.
You end up affecting the ikr.
The ikr, right? The main thing is that our tefillot, our shacharit, our arvit, our musaf, our mincha, and Rosh Hashana should be very deliberately kavana and with a lot of energy and a lot of fear and trembling. So he says if you mix up the schedule, so Rabbi Yitzhak Yosef brings a beautiful proof to this. He says that there's a very interesting halacha. One should sleep always in the sukkah, right? But let's say it was raining. So it says the halacha is you're allowed to sleep in your house. But is there a halacha that you have to somehow
stay outside and get wet?
No. Is there a halacha that you have to wake up in the middle of the night or at dawn, and because let's say stop raining, right? And then move back into the sukkah and just cut your sleep in half? Like you should sleep lightly and somehow have like some type of way to gauge that. It says no, there's no such a chiyuv. It's brought down in the poskim. Why? Because once you go to sleep like a normal human being, right? And when you get up, you get up. It's ended up, the rain stopped 4 hours ago, and you woke up like 8 o'clock, and from 3 a.m. already it stopped raining, so you were technically supposed to. It says, right? So he wants to bring a proof, the YALKUT Yosef, that that's not if that which is doraita to sleep in a sukkah, you just follow your normal schedule for sure. This and basically he says he doesn't believe in what the Mata Yehuda says that you do have an obligation to, when you wake up at dawn, to move your whole apparatus back into the sukkah and sleep there. He says that's just the chumrah. That's above the letter of the law. So he says basically we want to come to the idea like this. He says mitam ze af shenachon lishtadel. So for sure, it's appropriate. It's the first day of the year. If you want to go to sleep early, nobody will argue that it's a wonderful, great A+, super deluxe thing to wake up at dawn, like the Chidah says, because the truth is the Arizal is a double-edged sword, right? The Arizal that says you're allowed to go to bed after noon, but he says that you should be up davening at nights, right? You should. So, but he says that this is not the Ikr halacha. You understand? It's a wonderful stringency and an A+ Chassidut thing to do, but it doesn't. And again, we're trying to say that Yerushalmi is not going to come. That Yerushalmi's words are not going to come and haunt you, because at the end of the day, if you're structuring your day on the high holidays in a way that you're going to have the most Torah in it and the most kavana, right? And you're not wasting your time. Rav Shlomo Zalman says that Yerushalmi is basically saying it's such an auspicious day and you just like sleep the whole day. That's going to be bad for you. But Chacham Ben Sion Abba Shaul says that in his opinion, and the truth is the Rav Shlomo, Rav Moshe Sternbach, and this is practically the minhag that I've seen in a lot of the minyanim that when I was living in Israel for a year, is that they say the best is to wake up early, and then if you're tired after chatzot, like we said, the Arizal said it's not a problem to sleep anyways. And by the way, I just want to let you know that there is a glorious power when you daven with nets. It's a very, very powerful thing. Actually, one of my colleagues, which I was really, really proud of him, he has his own shul. Rabbi Nurola, he said he's going to daven Netzes Rabbi Zagari and then go to his own shul. I said, wow, that's an amazing thing. You know, that a person would do such a thing. It's but Rabbi Yitzhak Yosef begs to argue. He says, of course, that is one way of structuring your day, which happens to be, according to the Arizal, makes the most sense and coincides the most. That, at the end of the day, we wake up early, we daven nates, we have that glorious sechut. It's the first day of the year on Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur. But Rabbi Yitzhak Yosef says that don't think if somebody is a yeshiva bacher and he has this awesome desire to learn it till 1 or 2 in the morning on the night of Rosh Hashanah without any interruption, and he's super uber focused, that's also a very lofty thing. So if he ends up davening in an 8 o'clock minyan in his yeshiva, right, doesn't mean that he's necessarily wrong, right? We're just trying to say the glory of what we're trying to bring out in the shiur is that there's a lot of different ways to serve Hashem, and all of them are legitimate. But he brings another, and we're just going to end with this. He brings a very interesting thing. There's a very chashuv a book that brings one of the great poskim was Rabbi Eliashiv. So it's brought down in the holy books that there's 5 days a year that one should try to daven nets because it's very auspicious. It's going to help your Mazal a lot. One of them is Rosh Hashana, 2 days of Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur, Hoshana Rabbah, and Purim. So the issue over there, Rabbi Yitzhak Yosef says, is that it's brought down in the holy books that these 5 days you should try to daven nates. He says, listen, you also have to understand, this is, for the vast majority of time, they didn't have electricity. So everybody was getting up anyways. Their whole day, people would go to sleep very early because they wouldn't have light in their house, right? They couldn't afford $500 worth of candles, right? Every day. It's ridiculous. But he holds that even Rabbi Eliashiv himself would not wake up and daven at Nates all these days. Only on Hoshana Rabbah, right? So the Rav Shlomo, just to finish, Rav Shlomo Zalman's opinion, and it seems that Rabbi Yitzhak Yosef, which is quoting him, concurs with it. He says, if one davens in a very yeshivish minyan, a very serious, God-fearing minyan, that people are not talking, people are answering Amen Yeh Shemei Rabbah, right? It's very serious and, minyan. And then you could daven with a minyan that, yes, all the people are ignoramuses. They're gonna, it may not be a serious daven, but they're gonna daven nates. Rav Shlomo Zalman's opinion seems to be that it's better to daven. Again, we want to, right? The Panovitcher Mashkiach once said something very important, which is one of the major flaws of Balei Tshuva. They say ignorance is bliss. They take one thing. It's like we said before, life is all a matter of priorities. So one has to be a Talmid Chacham, know what's Deoraita, what's a Chassidut, what's Kabbala, right? So in the end of the day, just to summarize the way that Rabbi Yitzhak Yosef, our current chief rabbi, understands it is that, there's different opinions, but definitely if you're not wasting your time on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and you're following what your yeshiva is doing and your kollel is doing, and the tefillah is very serious and uplifting, then you don't have to be worried that if you didn't wake up at dawn, right, that the main thing over here is to thyself be true. Like we said in the first part of our share in the Musar. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is, you have to be on overdrive, right? Be the best you could be. It's not the time to be lazy. So the way that one can understand the Yerushalmi is that, don't waste the time. Because if Hashem says that, Chas v'shalom, it could, you won't have a good as year as you should have if you would have been awake and doing more mitzvot. Parenthetically, like Rav Chaim Filaji, one of the great chief rabbis of Chachamim of Turkey that wrote 70 Sfarim, says there's it's a great minhag. He brings segula to tip the scales and have the best year of your life. Rav Chaim Filaji brings is to finish Tehillim each day of Rosh Hashanah. And even the Briskerov had the minhag of reading Tehillim because it's so, he didn't want to waste a second. See, the way we have to understand the Yerushalmi is not to waste a second. But I just want to finish something very thing, because this author, I met him and I spent a few hours with him and I really like his farm. The Shalosh Tshuvas Van Hagos, one of the great poskim of our generation, Rav Moshe Sternbach, he brings something else very interesting. He holds, he brings out another way of understanding. He says, first of all, he says in his opinion, see, if we understand the Yerushalmi, then you have to wake up at dawn, right? And you shouldn't sleep till, it's very hard actually. It's like a very intense thing for 2 days, You have to wake up at dawn and not sleep till sunset. So obviously, I think even the Yerushalmi would agree, I've seen it brought down, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, some poskim, that even if you like doze off and you don't, you take a nap on your sofa or on your table because you just physically can't stay up anymore. I don't think the Yerushalmi is saying that your Mazal is going to go down because the Torah wasn't given to angels. You have to do what's physically possible for you. But he says a very interesting other thing. He says that in his opinion, even if you want to follow the Arizal, you don't have to wake up at dawn, but you can wake up at Netz, because dawn isn't really day, right? And that happens to be very early. Right now, this part of the year, it's actually not so hard. If you actually do want to follow he says a beautiful thing. He says, in the end of the day, if you want to follow the Arizal, all you need to do is simply get up at, this is my personal minhag, that's why I wanted to mention it. What I try to do, Bli Neder, is I try to somehow put a kosher alarm clock, or to wake up at sunrise, which is pretty late this time of year. It's like around, if I'm not mistaken, 6:40, which is not super. And then he brings proofs that, and it makes sense. Sunrise is real day. Dawn is not real day. And he says, even if you're not, listen, even if you don't have a minhag, a minyan that davens nates near you, at least you could get up and learn, right? And that way you're doing something productive when court is in session. You understand? Because you're learning and getting ready for davening. And by the way, a lot of Sephardic minyanim, they don't say all the korbanot. There's like 10, 15 pages of stuff to say before Baruch Shamar, right? So you could say that, and you could learn the Mishnayot. Another beautiful minhag is there's 4 chapters of Mishnahs of Rosh Hashanah. People learn by each meal. The minhag of my yeshiva in Arizal was each meal people will learn 1 chapter of the Mishnah, right? So you have 4 meals. You end up finishing the whole Mishnah, Masechta, Mishnah of Rosh Hashanah, right? There's no, as you see in this room, there's around 2,000-3,000 svarim. There's no shortage of, you could do the Tehillim at that time, right? So he just says that in his personal opinion, the best way you should structure your day, and this is what resonates with me the most logically, putting the Arizal and everything together. But it was also very heartwarming seeing that the YALKUT YOSEF is there to, be a advocate lawyer for people that don't do this. But it seems that it's very powerful and good that one should try to be up at sunrise, which is not particularly terribly hard, right? Because Alot HaShachar is like 1 hour and 12 minutes before that. So he says on the days of the high holidays, 2 days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, one should wake up at sunrise, start davening or learning or saying his Tehillim, and daven with a minyan, and in that zechut that Hashem sees that we have alacrity, we have zerizut, we're eager to wake up and do the mitzvot. Hashem should seal everybody in the book of life, health, happiness, and health, all the good things. Amen.